Greetings and salutations, people of the internet. Austin here. Last time we kicked off the new year with a breakdown from my 11th Fakemon region, the Nacton Region. That video was a monster to edit, so we're going to be doing something simpler for this month. As I said in the outro of the last video, sightings of new Ultra Beasts have been cropping up lately in the Sisill Archipelago, a series of islands off the coast of the Nacton Region. You're being sent there to investigate and stop any potential problems from popping up. While you're there, they've encouraged you to catch the local Pokémon. Without further ado, let's head back to the Nacton region one more time before the inevitable reboot in a few years. Without further ado, let's begin. Livery Snow, the cold puppy Pokemon. First up, this line is based on the Italian Greyhound. I probably should have had this in the base region, but what's done is done. This is a solid design all around. The first pass was more or less perfect outside of a few minor details. I wanted this to be a very simple Pokemon, so I just had this pupper wearing a snowsuit to stay warm. I did try to give this a red nose to look like it was all stuffy, but it didn't look right and it messed up the color balancing for this stage. There isn't a whole lot to say about this Pokemon. Great job, Austin. First entering, and you don't have enough to talk about for a strong start. The shiny is kind of meh in hindsight, looking back on it. Slushhound, the frozen hunter Pokemon. Okay, the evolution here has a smidge more to talk about, thankfully. Design-wise, this used to have a more prominent mouth, but after some back and forth, including trying to add a tongue, I just streamlined the face into what you see here. I think the more aloof expression works better for an ice type, and made the Pokemon more distinct from the rest of my goodish puppers in my catalog. I brought back the red nose idea from the first stage for this Pokemon. I added more fur to the body, and I just had to readjust the pose for better balancing. A solid start to the DLC, but the next line is one of my favorites. Nactonian Litleo, the Lion Cub Pokemon. This regional variant is based on the extinct European lions and lions used in old gladiatorial arenas. This needed very little changes from the first draft, mainly just readjusting the legs and the proportions of the facial features. Otherwise, the design itself was simple enough not to give me any major issues. I added the yellow to the ectoplasm on the head and tail to help break up the colors, and just to help the overall color balance. The shiny is solid, but I think I could have made the green a touch brighter, but hindsight's 20/20. Nactonian Pyroar, the dead royal Pokemon. Okay, one of these was significantly trickier than the other to design, but we'll get there. The idea with the male evolution is that it's wearing shackles from when it was alive and enslaved for entertainment by cruel humans of the past. The male evolution here was a lot easier to design than its female counterpart. I only needed to adjust the front paw's perspective and add yellow to the X-shaped scar and the shackles on this Pokemon for this thing to be good to go. Whereas with the female evolution, I had a lot more of a headache thanks to a failed design concept. Initially, I was going to have the hair be made of a giant net with ectoplasm in it, referencing the nets used to catch them or were used in the Colosseums. It was an abject failure at every turn. I was getting so frustrated. I tried for a while to make it work, but eventually I just shifted it to the tail. From there, the rest was a piece of cake. Fueled Fury is pretty damn broken in hindsight, so I gotta be sparing if I use it again. Stalactite, the cave bat Pokemon. Oh, I've been looking forward to these two. These two are from that canceled fan game I bring up more than someone does their stock portfolio. This stage is based on bats and stalactites. This is actually the third version of this design, with the first on screen being Woof. This was modeled after the significantly better second version here. In terms of changes, this is really just a redraw with better rendering and textures. I'll explain the abilities with the evolution since they make more sense there. I love this design so much, easily one of my favorite designs, period. Stalaggoyle, the Tower Guardian Pokemon. The evolution here evolves from Stalagmite once it reaches level 25 at night, and is now based on stalagmites and gargoyles. Now this design actually got some changes in the redraw. I shortened the legs by a good margin and I readjusted the wing in front. Oh, I also changed the shiny to be closer to the OG version you see on screen here. I don't know why I did this, but I'm not mad at it. I don't have a lot of yellow shiny, so this was kind of a nice change of pace. Now to explain the abilities. I gave it Hydrate to reference Gargoyle's connection with running water, mainly in Notre Dame, and Friend Guard to reference Gargoyle's standing guard over the buildings they reside on. If this was a real game, this would be on my team in a heartbeat. Croag, the Grappling Tongue Pokemon. Alright, time for the first new evolution of the region, and one I've had on the books since the base Nacton Region, in fact. This crafty chameleon is the evolved form of Kleptomeleon once exposed to a Duskstone. This barely changed from the first draft. I only really needed to adjust the front leg and the shape of the eyebrows, and the base design was good to go. The colors didn't give me too much of an issue, thankfully, the black doing the heavy lifting and showcasing the new dark typing. Despite their increased craftiness, these Pokemon are still kinda stupid, so their bright colors can often get them caught before they can change. But it also makes others think they're a poison type, so win-win in that regard. I love this little idiot so much. Golos, the Hangman Pokemon. Oh, I've been looking forward to doing this Pokemon for a long time. This is based on seagulls, pollution, and hangmen. Yeah, this design is dark, but it was so much fun. The design itself was more or less perfect since I knew what I wanted to do. My favorite design detail is the trash bag executioner's hood and the soda holder nooses. This was going to be Water Ghost, but Poison Ghost worked better with the pollution angle, and I didn't really have any poison types in this small DLC, so I wanted to fix that. Color-wise, the feathers were originally purple and the eye was light blue, but I swapped that and the rest was basically history. I am so happy with how this Pokemon came out. Gastrope, the Volcano Snail Pokemon. Our next new evolution, this unit is the evolved form of Magcargo when traded holding a bag of ashes, and is based on Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii. I adore this Pokemon so damn much, and I got pretty close on the first pass to perfection. In the following passes, I added the more sullen expression, I removed the flaming eyebrows it originally had, and made the lava coming out of the artillery volcanoes goopier, and while I was at it, also made the lava beard a touch bigger. I had so much fun rendering this Pokemon, especially the smoke cloud coming out of the shell and the glow of the lava body. Yeah, a spritz of water still kills this thing, but it's so damn cool. The ability may be in poor taste, but come on, it's too perfect not to use. This would be on my team in a heartbeat. I don't care if I have two rock types with Stalaggoyle. Twiggallo, the Branch Stalker Pokemon. This creepy crawly is based on Italian Gallo movies, the precursor to the slasher genre, and stick bugs. This went through a few changes during development. Originally, this was a dark steel type, and I didn't have the stick bug part of the design locked down yet. I changed it to grass dark during development after I realized I didn't have any grass types. Lovely. Outside of the leg position, the design was more or less perfect from the beginning once the stickbug inspiration came into play. Though I did have to make the second pair of arms a bit bigger in the following passes. Color-wise, the only major change was making the head black to reference Gallo killers often wearing masks during the movie to hide their identities until the finale, alongside their signature black gloves. I have no complaints with this Pokemon. He's just a funny, stabby little guy. Sparktaser, the lone soldier Pokemon. This unit right here is the evolved form of Phalanx once exposed to a Thunderstone and is based off of Spartan Warriors. Yes, I am aware of Mega Phalanx. I played Legend ZA. I even mention it in the Dex entry if you read it. Before anyone gets on my ass about that, once again, here's how I handle Pokemon with Mega Evolution. If a Pokemon has a Mega and I give it an evolution, the newly introduced evolution cannot Mega and has to have a different stat layout or play style and or typing. That way, both the Mega and the proper evolution can be viable in different ways. With that out of the way, I wanted this Pokemon to be a single giant dude opposed to the Megazord that is Mega Phalanx. Peak design, by the way. I chose Electric Fighting since I just enjoy that type combo and I thought that would give me the most freedom design-wise out of it. Speaking of the design, big surprise, this didn't change too much. The biggest change came with the colors, replacing the original dull yellow for the light blue accents across the body. I did have to cut down on the amount of white across the color scheme, limiting it to just the main shields. This is my second new favorite evolution of the DLC, the first coming towards the end. Zinvader, the UFO Pokemon. Our obligatory kaiju line of the DLC, this is based on Orga from Godzilla 2000, specifically the spaceship form. Oh boy, this design took me so long to nail down. Originally, I wanted to model this stage after a squid to feel a touch more natural, despite being an alien. After a few attempts, I went with something closer to this current design. I mostly just needed to add the gray gloves to the arms and give it an angrier expression. The perspective of the UFO/head was such a pain in the ass that easily took the longest time to get right on this design. Thankfully, the evolution was a lot easier to work on. Speaking of which, Zinogre, the DNA Thief Pokemon. The evolved form of Zinvader once exposed to a Duskstone, this is now based on Orga proper. Just modeled to look a bit more like a turtle. The first pass got the foundation down, but the shell, cannon, arms, and neck, and tail for that matter, needed some work. I made the arms a lot bigger to better reference the source material and to help keep the Pokemon balanced. I made the shell spikier and the cannon more noticeable with the gradient on the side to indicate when this Pokemon is powering up, and to help give it some color overlap between the stages. I made the tail spikier to blend in more with the shell shape and to just look more intimidating. Lastly, I added the red to the neck for some color balancing and because I thought the design felt like it was missing something. Overall, I am very happy with how this line came out. Valkyrat, the Opera Drake Pokemon. Our second to last new evolution of the DLC. This is the evolved form of John Rat once it learns Dragon Cheer and is based on Brunhild and opera music. So, fun fact. I originally wasn't going to do this Pokemon in the DLC at all. Originally, this was going to be a sound-type convergent Pangrolan based off of loops and other instruments of the type, but I could not get it to work at all. I knew I needed a sound type for this DLC, so I ended up bringing this Pokemon in earlier than I wanted to, initially. The The first pass got the general idea down, but it didn't look like a dragon type at all. The shapes didn't feel dragony, the proportions were whack, and the tail was really underdeveloped detail-wise. The next pass almost got it down, really helped by the elongated neck and sharper teeth, but I only needed to make the body wider in the final pass for this Pokemon to be perfect. The colors did take me a little bit of time to iron out, but it was really, really worth it. So far, this is my favorite Jonrat evolution. Marabrida, the Well Witch Pokemon. This Well Witch is based on the Marabeka, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, a folklore witch/frog creature from Sicily. The design was damn near perfect from the beginning, only missing the more sinister expression and the eyelids. I also did have to simplify the details across the body so it read easier at a glance. It uses its tongue to lure and prey to the wells they make their homes in, referencing the overall motif of what the Marabeka does to their prey. I thought bioluminescence would be a fun thing to play around with this design, even if it was just for one part of the body. Water, dark, or dark electric were just too easy typing-wise, and I wanted to do something more interesting. Nothing super special with this line, but I'm really happy I did it. Magnifry, the Lenstail Pokemon. So, much like a lot of my Pokemon, I worked backwards with this line. So this design here was the last one I completed. The whole line is based off of lenses of different varieties and starting fires with them, with this stage being the kid with a magnifying glass burning ants. Only now the bug is doing the burning. Quite gleefully, I might add. The first pass wasn't bad, but the proportions and the pose needed work. Also, the shape of the mouth was off while I was at it. The tail was the biggest challenge, mainly getting the angle to look right. After I got that finished, the rest was more or less easy to work on. Focused lens feels like a really self-explanatory ability, so I don't think I need to go into detail with it. Monokune, the Burning Beam Pokemon. This Pokemon was more or less there from the first pass, but the perspective and the facial proportions needed some work. This stage is based around monocles, if it wasn't obvious enough, so I decided to make it look like a proper distinguished gentleman, complete with top hat and mustache. The entire design looked too flat at first, and it was really weak as a result. I didn't make the head more 3D until towards the end of the design process after a pretty intense back and forth discussion. The result did help the design a lot, and after that I only needed to make the non-monocle eye a bit bigger, and this bugger was finished. This is definitely the simplest design out of the entire line, as a cocoon probably should be. Sparkticle, the Glasswing Pokemon. Like I said, I started with this stage first and worked my way backwards. This flying pyromaniac is based off of butterflies and glasses. The first pass had all the major elements, but the execution was so boring. Mainly with the wings. I made the wings a lot bigger in the next pass and added the hooks at the end after a goated suggestion, which really helped the silhouette. The following pass was more or less the final design, only needing to adjust the size of one of the wings in the back. The colors were easy, but the render on the glass section of the wings took a minute, mainly in regards to how far I wanted to handle the opacity and the highlights. I eventually settled on what we got here with this design. I do enjoy this line despite how admittingly simple they are in comparison to a lot of the other designs in this DLC. Goltomaton, the Ancient Guardian Pokemon. Our final new evolution of the DLC, and my favorite Pokemon of this batch of designs by a landslide. This is the evolved form of Golurk once it's given the Infinite Core item, and is based off of Golems and Iron Man. Yeah, the whole idea I have for this design was an ancient Roman / Greek Iron Man / Iron Giant. I made the arms a lot longer on purpose to look like Greek temple pillars and to help this Pokemon feel more distinctive to the rest of the line. The first pass of the design didn't have the rocket / energy propulsion going on and had a cannon helmet, more or less. I held off on doing this Pokemon for a long time since I knew Mega Golurk was coming in Mega Dimension, and I wanted to include one little bit of the design in there, as I like to do with some overlap between Megas and actual evolutions. That's where the purple came in with this design, and boy, it was worth it. Mega Golurk slaps, by the by. After adding the Iron Man vibes and ditching the cannon helmet, the basic design was good to go. I had so much fun with this Pokemon. It took a lot of work for the small details, but oh my god, it was worth it. I love this shiny. Easily the best one of the DLC. An easy lock-in for an in-game team. UB Muse, Canvasod, the painting Pokemon. Our first new Ultra Beast of the region. All of this batch has the theme of famous Italian art, this one being based on the Mona Lisa. The main body of this Pokemon, the painting, was more or less done in the first pass, but initially it was just a floating painting. I had the idea to make the easel into a tripod to give this design more flourish and to help it make it be more unique. After some feedback, I added details to the easel / lower body to make it feel a little bit more ornate and eliminate some of the excess negative space. The name was a suggestion from the same person. I originally was going to call this Canvas Swipe, based on what they do to their victims, but the current name is just so much better. I love how this design came out and is a great start to the Ultra Beasts of this DLC. UB Sling, Boldapult, the Rock Thrower Pokemon. Next up, this Brawlic Boulder is based on the Statue of David. The design was more or less perfect from the beginning, only needing to fix up the shoddy line work. My idea was this thing's left arm is a giant sling with rocks inside that flings at their opponents, playing off of the biblical story. I love the asymmetry of this design. It was a lot of fun to work on and a good way to make this thing feel more like an Ultra Beast. The colors were pretty easy. I really like the orange energy sections throughout the body, basically holding it together. But the easy designs end here, since the rest of the designs were a lot tougher. UB Meld, Chimandrel, the Amalgam Pokemon. This monstrosity is based on the Chimera of Arezzo. The first pass sucked, outside of getting the ram section of the body down pretty easily, actually, and the overall emotion of the lion head. The proportions? Whack. The design? Whack. Legit? The face on the original lion head, aside of the implied emotion, was the worst part of the design. After a few takes, I had the idea for this current design, and the rest was history outside of the tail. The mandrill part of the name is based off of a mandrill, which is a metalworking tool used to shape metal and was a suggestion when I was coming up with the name. I liked the idea so much I went back and changed the shape of the snake head to better resemble one. After that, the design was complete. This is probably my personal favorite out of this batch of Ultra Beasts, but the final one does give it a run for its money. UB Pearl, Venus Shell, the Sea Choir Pokemon. Next up, this design gave me the second most trouble out of this batch of Ultra Beasts, and is based off of the birth of Venus and Sirens. I had the first pass nailed down pretty much, but I kept trying different designs that just kept overcomplicating things more and more. One draft gave it tentacle hair and the face was essentially a Wi-Fi / sound wave symbol. Obviously, that didn't last. In the next pass, I cut down on the waves in the back and added the vague eye / faces to them so they could act as this Pokemon's choir. I did have to change the patterns on the waves to feel more like rushing water. This all sounds minor in comparison, but it was a headache at the time, so just trust me. This originally was Water Fairy, but I wanted more sound types for my Ultra Beasts. A solid design all around, but this one's not my favorite. UB Rider. Unilave, the conjoined rider Pokemon. This freak is based on Young Woman with Unicorn and the Nuckalave. I added the Nuck mainly because I thought it would make this Pokemon look more like an Ultra Beast, and I just wanted to play around with that design. I cooked with this design from the first pass, locking this bitch down pretty early. I did briefly play with the idea of adding a skeletal horsetail to the design, but it looked off, so I removed it. The only thing I added to the design really were the bracers on the arms to help with the color balance with the top and bottom halves of the body. The reindeer came out pretty easily, so no major issues. This is a pretty simple design for an Ultra Beast, but I'm really happy with how it came out. Okay, I guess I had one more easy design mixed in after the first two. That might have been a little bit of an exaggeration on my part. UB Truth, Sinceracy, the Truth Eater Pokemon. Alright, the second to last Ultra Beast and Pokemon of this DLC. Let's finish this. This boyo is based off of the Mouth of Truth and Turtles once that design element was added. This Ultra Beast gave me the most trouble out of all of them. The first pass was basically a giant disc with a face and had a hand acting as its jaw, playing in what you do with the Mouth of Truth. It's said that if a liar puts their hand into the Mouth of Truth, they'll lose it instantly, which plays into the truth theme of this Pokemon. The next pass added some hand wings when this was originally a ground flying type at the time. It was after a brief discussion that the idea to turn this into a turtle came into play, and the rest fell into place. From there, outside of fixing some perspective issues, the only major addition was making the middle fingers on each hand a different color just to add some pizzazz to the design. The render does a lot of the heavy lifting overall, but I love this Ultra Beast. UB Union, Deifeed, the Fused Gods Pokemon. Our final Ultra Beast and the final boss, as it were. This is based on the creation of Adam and is the creator of all of this batch of Ultra Beasts. The idea that there was an Ultra Beast fusing creatures together was a suggestion made during the development of Kymandrel, and I loved the idea, so I added it onto the lore of this Pokemon. The basic design and concept got locked down pretty early on, but there were some few missteps along the way before I reached the final product. I had to make the god side of this duo a lot bigger to feel more imposing / divine. I changed that one's chest pattern to be a vaguely biblically accurate angel. After that, I added the axon / dendrites where their hands meet to play into the brain aspect of the creation of Adam painting after a suggestion. It added a lot, and was a nice focal point of this design. The colors took so long to balance out. I cycled through so many colors and combinations before we got here. This was a great final boss to end this DLC on. I really can't wait to do more Ultra Beasts in the future, whenever that happens. Another DLC under my belt. And this one being for one of my favorite regions in my catalog. Bringing back Ultra Beasts is always fun, even if some of them are a pain to do in all honesty. This DLC also has some of my favorite new evolutions added, especially Goltomaton if I had to single one out. Down below, let me know what your favorite new Pokemon added was. Like and subscribe for all future uploads, hit the bell so you don't miss out. Next time, we finally have another Fakemon special as we head to a special version of Gotham to see some of the unique Pokemon that they call home. This is Austin, signing out.